A very good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I'm Sonia Siddiqui and I welcome you all to the inaugural program of the Research Special Interest Group of TESOL Society of Bangladesh. This program is organized by TESOL Society of Bangladesh and supported by TESOL Research SIG or SIG. TESOL Society of Bangladesh is a platform for ELT practitioners that has started its journey in 2014 and has become a registered organization in 2020. The TESOL.BD Research SIG aims to promote and develop research knowledge and skills among ELT practitioners from primary level to higher education in Bangladesh. The SIG also looks for collaboration opportunities with international TESOL associations and teacher communities. The TESOL.BD Research SIG offers a common platform for ELT practitioners and researchers sharing common interests such as classroom research. This also promotes research work conducted with, by, and for teachers and their students. This SIG caters to graduate and postgraduate researchers, new and early career researchers, as well as experienced researchers in the field of ELT. Our program today is divided into two parts, the inauguration session and the inaugural workshop on teacher research. We would like to express our earnest gratitude to the Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain, Honorable Member, University Grants Commission, UGC Bangladesh, and our special guest, a prominent ELT researcher, recognized nationally and internationally, Dr. Obaid Hamid, Senior Lecturer, School of Education, University of Queensland, to be present among us and for giving their valuable time to our program. We are also delighted to have Dr. Richard Smith, University of Warwick, UK, and Professor Dr. Rama Matthew, University of Delhi, India, two renowned ELT researchers as resource persons for the workshop of today's inauguration program. For the inaugural session, I would like to invite Mr. Hamidul Haq, the Vice President and SIG Coordinator, TESOL Society of Bangladesh, an Assistant Professor and the Head of the Department of English at American International University, Bangladesh, to deliver his welcome speech.
Thank you, Sonia. Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. Our Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain, Member, University Grants Commission, Bangladesh. Our special guest, Dr. Obaidul Hamid, and our resource person, Dr. Richard Smith and Dr. Rama Matthew. Dear colleagues and dear audience, this is not the first time we are organizing such an event. For the last 1 year, TESOL Society of Bangladesh has been very active. Obviously, I mean, online, we never had the opportunity to actually organize our events physically. We have been recently registered with the Bangladesh government. And immediately after the registration, we actually sort of like work in full-fledgedly for the applied linguists and ELT practitioners in Bangladesh. And as an initiative, we have started different SIGs, special interest groups, with a view that there are ELT practitioners in different functional areas. There are, last month, we are sort of inaugurated English for Schools SIG. I mean, this SIG, that particular SIG was for practitioners in the schools. We need different areas, functional areas where actually the related ELT practitioners and researchers can come together and join in different collaborative efforts. Research obviously is a very special concern. The practitioners not only can benefit, they can also contribute. And because they go hand in hand, researchers can learn from practitioners, and practitioners can also learn from the researchers. So hopefully this is the initiative from TESOL Society of Bangladesh that will actually sort of foster the research in ELT areas, applied linguistic areas, I mean, in near future. TESOL Society of Bangladesh envisions to work with applied linguists and ELT practitioners of different levels, right from the elementary education, secondary education, higher secondary education, tertiary level, and beyond that. We hope to expand our activities in near future. We have in total 5, 6 for now, and another one is waiting in the queue. We not only just open the SIGs, we want these groups to be active, and not only initiated by the SIG committees. We also want an active community, like schools say. We want all the school teachers to come and join. Similarly, in this particular SIG, we want to gather the ELT researchers in Bangladesh, not only the Bangladeshi researchers, but all the global researchers, especially those who are interested in Bangladeshi context. So we hope to accumulate more researchers day by day within this SIG, and there should be a community of researchers as well, not only some events. Obviously, we'll organize events time to time, but we also expect a community under this SIG. It should be a really, I mean, busy group where researchers will come and share their ideas. They will collaborate. We are particularly grateful to Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain, I mean, member UGC. He has been with us in the last time. Also, we organized a research conference, so he extended his help, and we also look forward to his hand in this particular SIG research. We know that Professor Sajjad is very interested and keen, I mean, to contribute in the research arena. So we look forward to him. We also look forward to Professor Dr. Obaidul Hamid, who has been a keen researcher in the field of ELT, especially in Bangladeshi context. He has published widely and has been associated with us, and we also look forward to his association with this particular SIG. Dr. Richard Smith joined us last time, and he actually sort of very interested to collaborate with IATFL SIG and our research SIG. So we welcome, actually, I mean, this is our initiative to involve Dr. Smith in our efforts. We also welcome today, I mean, this is for the first time, we have Dr. Rama Matthew. She has also worked in Bangladesh in English in Action Research Project. So we also look forward to her experience working in Bangladesh. So we can be benefited from their actually experience and collaborative efforts. TESOL Society of Bangladesh, I mean, obviously, we look forward to many more such ELT researchers and practitioners. I actually extend our welcome on behalf of our president, Professor Dr. Saidur Rahman, who has joined another program, IATFL event, and he will actually join us live as well. But he has extended his gratitude to all those who, I mean, are participating today in this event. Please welcome our research SIG and join us in the future projects. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words. Now I would like to invite Dr. Tasnima Akhtar, convener, TESOL.BD Research SIG, and an associate professor in English, Kumilla University, to introduce our SIG. Please, ma'am. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. As a convener of TESOL.BD Research Special Interest Group, I warmly welcome you all to our inauguration ceremony. With immense pleasure, I'd like to thank our chief guest, Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain, Honorable Member, University Grants Commission, Bangladesh, our special guest, our dear Dr. Ubaidul Hamid Sir, Senior Lecturer, University of Queensland, and our honorable resource persons, world-renowned ELT experts, Dr. Richard Smith and Professor Rama Matthew, for being with us today. Thank you very much. As a convener, I'm here to share a few words about TESOL.BD Research Interest Group. First, a bit of background, how TESOL.BD Research SIG came into being. You may remember the first international conference of TESOL Society of Bangladesh in December 2020. It was a research conference. While organizing this conference, Professor Dr. Saidur Rahman Sir, President, TESOL Society of Bangladesh, proposed, why not we offer a research SIG? I also fondly remember conference keynote speaker, Dr. Richard Smith's words. Tasnima's mention of the TESOL.BD Research SIG sounds like a music in my ear, and he immediately offers assistance in setting up TESOL.BD Research SIG and support of IATEFL Research SIG if needed. Then in April 2021, TESOL.BD announced its research special interest group along with 4 other SIGs. And I'm very thankful for appointing me the convener of this TESOL.BD Research SIG. Today begins the formal journey of this incredible SIG with you. Huge thanks goes to IATEFL Research SIG for supporting this event. Let me introduce TESOL.BD Research SIG to you. Our webpage is under construction, but we have dedicated Facebook page and group. Let me share the screen here. Yes, you can see from here, this is our page. You can see our today's event here. Yes. Here and here. So TESOL.BD Research SIG aims to promote research by the teachers for the teachers. Our mission is to promote and foster research knowledge and culture and skills, mentor teacher research, provide researcher development training, seek grants for researcher development training and research projects, conduct research and publication both in-house and internationally, and create an international community of practice via outreach projects, while also collaborating with other international national teacher associations like IATEFL. It also aims to publish annual TESOL.BD Research SIG newsletter. I'm pleased to announce that we are planning workshop series soon on research methodology and a symposium on teacher research and classroom action research towards the end of this year. So stay with us Let's Talk Research. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tasneema Akhtar, for introducing SIG to all of us. At this stage, this is my immense pleasure and honor to invite our special guest, a globally renowned ELT researcher, Dr. Obaid Hamid, Senior Lecturer, School of Education, University of Queensland. He previously taught in the Department of English at the University of Dhaka. His research focuses on the policy and practice of TESOL education in Asia, and he is widely published in journals such as TESOL Quarterly, ELT Journal, Language Policy, Current Issues in Language Planning, and World Englishes. He is on the editorial board of renowned journals including Current Issues in Language Planning, Discourse, Studies in the Cultural Politics in Education, English Teaching, Practice and Critic, and Journal of Asia TEFL. I would like to request Dr. Obaid Hamid sir to speak about ELT research in the context of Bangladesh. Sir, would you please? Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I have. Okay, thank you very much. That's a very generous introduction. Okay, Assistant Professor Hamidul Haq, Vice President, TESOL Society, Bangladesh. Professor Sajjad Hussain, Member, University Grants Commission, Bangladesh. Professor Rama Matthew from University of Delhi. Dr. Richard Smith from University of Warwick, who will join us later today. TESOL colleagues in Bangladesh and elsewhere. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, or good evening, more appropriately from here in Australia. It's an honor for me to speak at this special TESOL Society of Bangladesh event that seeks to inaugurate this research special interest group. Thank you for the kind invitation. I really appreciate it. Particularly, I would like to thank Professor Saidur Rahman and Lucky Associate Professor Tasneema Akhtar for extending the invitation. As someone doing research on TESOL in Bangladesh, definitely I'm really pleased to see this special initiative. I would like to commend the initiative and congratulate the TESOL Society Bangladesh office bearers and members. You have my wholehearted support for taking this initiative. We have two renowned academics and researchers who will be talking about teacher research today. Another name, a popular name for this particular kind of research is action research. Often we also call it practitioner research. Like many of you, I'm also looking forward to their presentations and improving my knowledge and understanding of action research or teacher research. But I would like to take this opportunity to say a few words about the importance of research and teacher research in particular. Okay, we all know that research is important for three main reasons. The first one is research creates new knowledge and it contributes to the body of knowledge. So that's the first important contribution. Secondly, research has contribution to policy making and policy reforms. And finally, research can also contribute to practice. When we talk about teacher research, we can see its contribution, particularly in relation to informing practice. So by doing teacher research, we can actually improve our practice. We can be a better practitioner. We can also make our practice more research-informed or evidence-informed, which is sort of a demand from many different corners. Now, when I think about teacher research or action research, I can see it being located in what is called the micro context. So looking at it from language policy and planning perspective, an area that I have a particular interest in. Okay, and I can see that from that particular contextual background, we can see at least 3 reasons for the significance of teacher research. The first one is teacher research can actually reduce what is called the theory-practice gap in TESOL research and also in education research. We often talk about this gap. We often talk about this divide between university and schools or other institutions. Okay, in my view, teacher research can be a way of acknowledging teacher agency, and it can also be a way of capitalizing teacher capacity for creating practical and pedagogical knowledge of immediate significance and value. And teacher can also produce this knowledge and share the findings within the institution and also beyond the institutions. There is no doubt that teachers occupy the classroom space. They are actually strategically located. They know the classroom more than any of us, people who are located at the university or other research institutions, for example. So they have a better understanding of the problems and the challenges, that they face, in their day-to-day life. Okay, so it makes sense. There is no doubt that if we can encourage teachers to investigate the problems that they're facing in their day-to-day life, they can actually contribute to their practice within the institutions that they've affiliated with. But also other institutions can also benefit from it. Okay, the second ground of significance of teacher research is related to empowering teachers and also giving them an opportunity to theorizing their practice. And this is particularly important because we really need to change the status of teachers. Currently and predominantly, teachers are now understood as consumers of research and findings or knowledge that is produced by university academics. So we need to change that status. So if we can go ahead with this agenda, if we can go ahead with teacher research, that can actually contribute to changing the status of teachers. They can be producer of knowledge, not just consumers of knowledge coming from the university or other research institutions. Okay, the third significance that I would like to talk about is relevant particularly to the Bangladeshi context. I hope you would agree with me that in many schools in our country, both in the urban settings and also in the rural areas, something is missing. Well, perhaps if not missing, at least there is weakness, and that is, we actually need a strong sense of culture of learning, culture of collegiality. And unfortunately, that's not there. I don't see that. And again, I'm not saying that from a distance. You may have heard that I actually did my PhD. That was a long time ago, 2006, 2007. My PhD is about, school students' experience of learning English in rural schools. So I had firsthand knowledge and understanding of how things work, how teachers work, and what is missing, so on and so forth. So we really need a culture of learning among the teachers. And I strongly believe that if we can go ahead with this agenda, that can actually contribute to teachers' learning culture and the culture of collegiality that I'm talking about. So based on these considerations, I would say that teacher research is to go. This is the way to go. And again, I would really commend TESOL Society of Bangladesh for bringing this agenda and making it happen. And as you have already introduced, it's not going to be just theoretical. You are really going to engage, and that gives me immense pleasure. as a researcher with a special interest in TESOL in Bangladesh. But of course, there are many challenges, and probably you would know more challenges than I can list. But I would identify at least two. The first one is actually related to constraints, time constraints, for example. We know that our teachers are heavily loaded. They have heavy teaching load, and they also have other commitments, so on and so forth. So how are they going to find the time to engage in research? So here we need institutional support. So if the institutions are ready to support, make some room for them so that teachers can also, be involved in research, that would be great. And that's why I think what TESOL Society of Bangladesh can do in the future, they can organize special seminars inviting school leaders, principals, head teachers, so that they are interested, they understand the importance of teacher research, so that they can sort of make some room for interested teachers who would like to do the research. Okay, the second challenge is about teacher knowledge of research skills and experiences. Again, I was really pleased to hear that you are going to run some methodology workshops, so that will be great. But of course, we shouldn't have the illusion that that should be enough. So we also need to think about more practical strategy at the same time. And one practical idea that I can think of is the partnership between university academics and school teachers. Okay, and this is an idea that I thought a lot when I was doing my PhD and when I was seeing, the reality in different schools, particularly in the rural context. So I would really encourage my university colleagues to develop partnership with the schools. Maybe they can go to a school in their own village, and it can be mutually beneficial. So, you can also add to your profile, you can do research, and you can, at the same time, you can collaborate with colleagues in the schools. All of us can actually, take our research ahead. We can contribute to our practice. Okay, so probably I should be stopping now. And of course, we will learn a lot from the two presentations that we are going to have. But can I just finish it off by saying that I would say that we are going through some sort of a small renaissance, I would say. Well, I know it could be controversial to you, but I would say that we are going through some sort of a renaissance in research in TESOL and applied linguistics in Bangladesh. Just think about the landmark handbook that was published early this year. So that was edited from Bangladesh, a number of colleagues and Bangladeshi colleagues contributed. So this is the beginning. And I can now see that almost every day, colleagues from Bangladesh are publishing in the Scopus Index journal here and there. So you can see. So TESOL Society in Bangladesh is actually bringing this idea at this particular time. So it's really ideal time for, taking this kind of initiative. And it also tells me that it tells me about the growth and maturity and the clear vision of the TESOL profession, the TESOL association that you are leading. So congratulations, and thank you once again for giving me the time to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Obaid Hamid sir, for your valuable words. Definitely the suggestions that you have made, I really hope that is going to help our teachers to be motivated into research work. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot for your valuable words, sir. Okay. Now, finally, it is our great pleasure and honor to have Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain, the chief guest of this program. Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain is an honorable member, University Grants Commission, UGC, Bangladesh. He is also the director of Bangladesh Satellite Company Limited, BSCL, since 2019. Before this, he taught at different universities in Bangladesh, including the University of Liberal Arts, Bangladesh, International Islamic University, Chittagong. He did his PhD on electrical and computer engineering from Portland State University, Oregon, US. He is a professor, researcher, and academic teaching advisor with extensive experience in developing and conducting tertiary courses in quantum computing technology, VLSI design, artificial intelligence, machine and deep learning, big data and data analytics, digital signal and image processing. Now, I would like to request our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Sajjad Hussain Sir, to deliver his speech and to announce the inauguration of TESOL.BD Research SIG. Please, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And I hope someone is having good day or good evening. It's a global event, I see. Dear audience, respected special guest, Dr. Wahid Hamid. Just I listened to his speech, and my video is on and off due to other reason. I'm also working some other issues. So also resource person, Dr. Richard Smith, and Professor Dr. Rama Matthew, Mr. Hamidullah, Society, Mr. Hamidullah, who is the Vice President of TESOL Society, and all its member participants. Again, good afternoon. It's I think it's a very delighted to be. I'm very much delighted. Reason I'm technology person, and you are the guy mostly in a very cultured and global language, which we see that English. So this is a communication and also literature, which is very integral part of our life, and which is very important. Key, I think it plays a key role for our professionalism, and what Professor Hamid told the teacher research. At the beginning, I want to say that we are celebrating the birth centenary of our greatest national leader, father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and 50 years of independence. On this auspicious occasion, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to TESOL Society of Bangladesh on marking its 1-year journey this month. This is also fantastic. So again, at first, I would like to pay richest tribute to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and Bangamata Fazilatul Nessa Mujib, brothers Sheikh Kamal, Sheikh Jamal, and Sheikh Russell, and other martyrs of August 15. The Liberation War martyrs and war-wounded freedom fighters whose supreme sacrifices made Bangladesh a sovereign state through the 9-month Liberation War under the leadership of Bangabandhu. He dreamt of a modern and technologically sound Sonar Bangla, an exploitation-free and just society. His vision gives us the confidence to move with our vision to advance Bangladesh as a developing country and developed country 2041. We are a fortunate nation. I believe that we have a plan for 2041, we have a plan for 2071, and also Delta plan, 100 years plan. And we are fortunate we have a leader of like Bangabandhu in 1971, and also now we are passing a very critical time in the world, that is pandemic. We all know that is very hard all over the world, and especially for teachers also and students in education area. This is a very hard time for us, but we plan for digital Bangladesh. I want to say that our digital ICT advisor, computer specialist, computer scientist, Sajib was enjoying this connection. The reason I'm telling those things that we Bangladeshi is becoming now more digitally active all over the world. And that's the reason where we see that this conferences, this workshop is happening through global context, which was almost absent in a couple of years back. So this pandemic makes us some good approaches also in difficult situations. I'm glad to know as a volunteer organization working with national and international ELT professionals, educators, and research enthusiasts, TESOL Society of Bangladesh has already made an impressive mark. The society has arranged a good number of resource, field teaching, learning programs using online platforms despite the challenging times of the, what I mentioned, the challenging COVID pandemic situation. At this, the first anniversary of its inception, I'm happy to be part of this momentous journey of the Society of Bangladesh. TESOL Society, is there anything? Journey of TESOL Society of Bangladesh, especially given that I have had the honor of inaugurating the first virtual international research conference in December 2020, which was mentioned earlier with, I think, our presenter nicely presented that. I am delighted to be invited by TESOL Society of Bangladesh once again to inaugurate one of the special interest group, TESOL.BD Research SIG. As a member of UGC, I have been working on increasingly publication outputs and sponsoring research grants for scholarly initiatives undertaken by teachers. Here, I found that our special guest already formulated that teacher research actually reduce gaps. That is very key. And our Honorable Prime Minister is also focusing on research. And I myself believe that human being itself is a research and innovative. Always, it's an internal instinct of a human being. But we have to find out more formulated way. And his findings that empowering teachers, capacity, that potential of a teacher can be enhanced more widely and used through research. This is very key interest, and we are living in a knowledge-based society nowadays. So knowledge is very important, innovation is very important and key to success. Research is a key for a teacher to be in to execute his more full potentials. So I totally agree, and other speaker also mentioned, and our Vice President also mentioned about what the organization is doing. I believe this is one of the areas that need our urgent attention to ensure quality education. Therefore, if we want our universities to reach a global standard, it can be not about university teacher. I can talk about it. It is about any teachers, language teacher or any teacher, global standard. Taking initiative to promote research and increase publication is a must. I would like to express my heartiest facilitation to TESOL Society of Bangladesh for taking the timely initiative for creating a particular research SIG dedicated to creating, promoting, and fostering research knowledge and skills among ELT practitioners from the primary level to tertiary education in Bangladesh. I believe that TESOL.BD Research SIG will contribute the professional development of English teachers, engaging them in impactful teacher research to help them pursue knowledge and implement the latest practices of English language pedagogy in their classrooms. Hopefully, this teacher research initiative will allow our English teachers to create interactive classrooms and promote learning. I wish all the best to teachers, TESOL.BD Research SIG to successfully execute their plans and turn their noble aspiration to tangible reality. This is what University Grants Commission, we are looking, as my part, I'm looking into the research and also innovation, as well as technology, ICT. So you all know the technology is a now integral part of our life. And again, if we want to excel that technology, we need research, we need innovation and social context. It's Bangladesh. We have many obstacles and problems, and we have many students. So in global context, I believe that TESOL and English will play a vital role to accelerate our global image and also global potentials. We have potentials. So we have a marked framework of 2041 advanced country. So I am confident this initiative will play a role for building a dream of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, an advanced science and technology dependent, advanced country and human country, which is human. We were looking for a human nature, and that is our key. And with this aim,
Sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Sorry, I have some difficulties. It's a house, that's why with this aim inside, I am delighted to welcome world-renowned ELD expert Dr. Richard Smith, University of Warwick, and Dr. Rama Matthew, University of Delhi, to conduct the workshop. I wish TESOL.BD Research SIG great success and look forward to future research events encouraging our graduates and teacher researchers. Again, I'm very happy and seeing that this is a big global event, and hopefully it will be more and more, and it will bring our country in a better position and global position. And our resource person is and also special guest is renowned in global context, what I understand. And as a technology person, I'm not much in research in literature or English, but I'm sure we all do read research or do read literature in every moment of life or in every context of life. This is the key for our nation. Literature and English might be one of the key factors for our improvement and for our journey to advanced country, global country. Thank you very much again. Thank you, organizers and associations and all, and participants, especially students, and all teachers, my colleagues. And I wish you success and also be safe in this pandemic. Be good and wish you success. Thank you all. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. Long live Bangladesh.
Thank you so much, our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Sajjad Hussain, for inaugurating TESOL.BD Research SIG and sharing your encouraging words with us. Indeed, this was much insightful, sir. Now we are moving towards our next segment, a workshop titled An Invitation to Teacher Research. For this second segment, I would like to request Dr. Taslima Akhtar and Mr. Pradhan Mahmood Ibn Siraj to moderate the workshop. Please, ma'am.
I hope I can make sure my video off, and also I think my daughter is also connected here from Russia, Moscow.
Oh.
So I invited them. They are also English teacher.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, sir.
My one of daughter is here. I have seen that. But
no, both daughters are here.
Both daughter is here. Okay, but they're from Moscow. I think Smolensk from Russia. They joined. This is very fantastic event.
Thank
they're
you,
also
Apus.
teaching English, I think. There.
That's great.
People from same background. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's fascinating, yes.
Thank you for having us.
I want to go off.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time, sir.
So we are now heading to our next segment. That's a workshop. I welcome you all to our inaugural workshop titled An Invitation to Teacher Research To moderate this segment, I am Tasnima Akhtar with you.
And this is Pradhan Mahbub Ibn Shiraz with you.
It is our immense pleasure to have with us world-renowned ELT experts, Dr. Richard Smith and Professor Rama Matthew, who kindly consented to conduct this workshop as a support from TESOL Research SIG to TESOL.BD Research SIG. Now let us introduce our resource persons to you, although they are widely known to the ELT world. Just a few words here. So let me start with Dr. Richard Smith. Dr. Richard Smith is a reader at the Department of Applied Linguistics, University of Warwick, UK. Dr. Richard founded the Warwick ELT Archive at the University of Warwick, a unique collection of materials relating to the history of teaching English as a second or foreign language. He is the founder and the convener of the ILA, International Association of Applied Linguistics Research Network on History of Language Learning and Teaching, and also the co-convener of its Learner Autonomy Research Network. Dr. Richard is also the founding chair of the International Festival of Teacher Research in ELT. He has been the key concepts editor of ELT Journal from 2015 to 2020, and now on the journal's advisory board. Since 2002, he has been a member of the Board of Trustees of the A.S. Hornby Educational Trust. Dr. Richard is strongly connected with TESOL and has also been the coordinator of the TESOL Research SIG. Dr. Richard is widely known for his innovative works in the fields of action research, teacher research, learner autonomy, English in difficult circumstances, and history of English language teaching. He is actively involved in several British Council projects on teacher research in Latin America, Africa, and South Asia, including India and Nepal, and published several books on this.
Now I would like to introduce Professor Dr. Rama Matthew. Dr. Rama Matthew is an ELT consultant and retired as Professor of Education from the University of Delhi, where she was also Dean of the Faculty of Education. She taught at the EFL University, Hyderabad for several years. She was head of the Research, Monitoring and Evaluation Unit of English in Action project in Bangladesh. She has been involved in several teacher development and assessment projects and published articles and books in this area. She has a lead mentor for ARMS, Action Research Mentoring Scheme, and for ELT-RMS, ELT Research Mentoring Scheme, both British Council funded schemes. She has just completed work on a project in Sierra Leone, where she supported teachers to carry out classroom-based research. Her research interests include language assessment, teaching English to young learners, CPD of teachers, multilingual education, and making English accessible to learners online.
Without further ado, I gladly invite Dr. Richard Smith and Professor Rama Matthew to kindly start our workshop on teacher research. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your very kind introductions. I'll speak first and Professor Matthew will speak later. So namaskar everybody, and assalamu alaikum and hello, and it's very nice to be back here with you at TESOL Society of Bangladesh, because you kindly invited me to speak last year. It's really nice to be here at the first event of your research SIG. As Tasneem said, I said last year that it was music to my ears that you are making a research SIG, and it's very interesting to hear Dr. Sazad Hussein's words, and I acknowledge him, and also Dr. Obaid Hamid, who spoke very much about the kind of thing that we agree with, Rama and myself, about the importance of teachers doing research, and that's what we are going to focus on today. Although, of course, the research SIG of TESOL Society of Bangladesh is probably going to be concerned with not only teachers doing research, but, for example, supporting novice researchers, supporting the development of TESOL research in general, including, of course, more academic research. But today we are with Rama and I are going to focus very much on what Hamidul Haq said at the beginning. I was listening, saying how important it is to bring together school teachers and academic researchers. That was also something that Dr. Hamid was saying about the importance of partnership between university research and schools. And because, of course, we know there is a gap between theory and practice generally, and between academic research not really being very relevant to the concerns of teachers. And I'm sure that your society, just like the TEFL Research SIG, will try to bring together those two sides, as it were. And you are joining with other research SIGs around the world. For example, in Buenos Aires, there is a teacher research special interest group with APIBA, the Teacher Association. In Cameroon, in Africa, there is a research SIG. And in Mexico as well, there's a SIG. Also in Chile, there is a kind of group, rather like your group, trying to bring together concern with research which is relevant to teachers with academic research. So you're joining an international network, really, which with TEFL Research SIG supporting this event, we will try to help and try to work together. So thank you very much, and for inviting us. And we're going to share some slides with you. We're going to have a workshop for about an hour, I think, or a little bit more than an hour, and we've got lots to talk about. So let's go forward. So I hope you can see my slides there. We called it an invitation to teacher research. We can't. We haven't called it an introduction because we can't, in this time, we can't really take you through the steps. But it's like an invitation. We're trying to promote the value of teacher research with examples from our experience. My background, as Tasneem said, is with the research SIG in TEFL, which it's very nice that TEFL and I should also mention Dr. Saidur Rahman, who I know is participating through the chat, but I know that he's also attending an TEFL meeting right now, which is to do with association between TEFL and all of the different associations around the world. So greetings to him as well. So yes, you might be interested to look at our website, but to see the kinds of things that we do, maybe the same kind of things that you will be doing in your SIG. Anyway, we are very happy to be collaborating with you. So as we go along, we will try to Rama will try to look at the chat as I'm speaking, and I will look at the chat as Rama is speaking. If you do have any questions, this will be how we will try to interact with you, because we can't really have a proper workshop online. It's very, very difficult. So please, we'll try to answer them as we go along. Please do write any comments or questions into the chat. So, research SIG. What is research? That's how we need some definitions, just simple definitions to begin with. Well, here is one simple definition: original investigation undertaken in order to gain knowledge and understanding. Of course, there are many definitions, but I've just chosen a simple one. Research involves formulating a question, gathering necessary information, we may say data, and interpreting this information in relation to the question. Well, teachers can do this. Teachers, if we define research in these quite down-to-earth ways, it may be helpful for teachers to see that actually they can do research. Here's one view, which I don't agree with really. Teachers should read more academic research, base their teaching on evidence from research. This is quite a common view among academics. Why don't teachers read our research? Why don't they follow what we say as academics? Well, teachers may reply, well, published research is often inaccessible, difficult to access without paying for it, for journals, etc. But also it's often written in a very different kind of language, the kind of jargon. It's often written for other academics, really, not really for a general audience. Many teachers think it's out of touch and inconclusive anyway. It's not really giving them suggestions as to what they could do in the classroom. So here's another view. Teachers can do their own research, and Dr. Hamid was giving lots of good reasons why teachers can be producers and not just consumers of research. But another objection to that is, well, it may be good in an ideal world, but teachers can't. For example, they don't have time, they don't have the skills, etc. It really depends on the kind of research that you are imagining, actually, as we're going to show examples of teachers who have done research. They don't do research, or they won't do research. It's a good idea in theory, but it doesn't happen in practice. Now, this has been expressed in books by academics. But we want to show you today that teachers can and do research, even in difficult circumstances, with appropriate support. So we're not thinking of research like this. Now, these are the kinds of image that teachers often have about research. So, as a SIG of the TESOL Society of Bangladesh, if you say to teachers, let's do research, it may be difficult to convey the message to them because of the images that teachers have about what research is. They may think research is not for them. Research is for university academics, and it's something to do with this kind of science. Or maybe if they've been to university, they may have memories of research when they were doing their degree, lots and lots of reading of previous research and writing a report. And the teachers may say, well, no, I haven't got the time to do that kind of thing. But we want to show you that it doesn't have to involve reading a lot of literature. In fact, I should say now that I think that with teacher research, the research gap, comes from the issues that the teachers are facing in their everyday life, not from a gap in the literature. So this is quite an important distinction, I think, to make with the kind of research you do for a degree, where you look at the literature to see what is missing, what is your gap, and then you build your research into that gap, as opposed to teachers where the gap is a gap in their understanding, or a gap in something that they need to fill in terms of practice in the classroom. And it may or may not have been previously researched. That doesn't matter so much. Then, about writing a report, I think it's a good idea to tell teachers at the beginning, if they don't have to write a report, that you don't have to write a report. You can share research in another way, through giving a presentation, for example, it doesn't even have to have PowerPoint slides. It could be a poster, and you'll see some examples where teachers are sharing their research through posters. One other very famous definition of research is systematic inquiry made public. That made public doesn't have to be publishing a journal article. It can be sharing in a presentation. So we're talking about teacher research, who and where and what. These are the kinds of teacher that we are thinking of, that we've been working with, both Rama and I. And so teachers in schools, and in the past, I think in the past, practitioner research, teacher research was associated more with university teachers, small classes. But I think Rama and I have been engaged in large projects with secondary school teachers, and this is all primary school teachers. And these are some of the teachers that we will be considering working with. So our main aim today really is to show you that teachers can do research if it's appropriate, and appropriate kind of research, and if it's supported well enough. So my own background here was a big program in Latin America, and it reached about 164 teachers in Chile, 94 teachers in Mexico, and also in Peru over the years since 2013. And also after that, becoming involved with the British Council project in India and Nepal, which has reached 48 mentors in India, 26 mentors in Nepal, who themselves have had teachers working for them. So we hope to move today to think a little bit about mentoring as well, because I know that mentoring teacher research is a goal for your SIG. What do we mean by teacher research? Well, here are some simple definitions again. Research done by teachers into issues which concern them. I'm not saying classroom here in classroom issues, because these days, of course, we may not be teaching in classrooms, but still teacher research is relevant when we're thinking about online teaching. Here we are, addressing questions that arise from your practice by gathering data, analyzing it, and sharing what you find. Can you see how that is very similar to the definition of research earlier? And a difficult thing at first is really inviting teachers to feel that they would like to do research, and some simple definitions like this are useful. Research by teachers, for teachers, Tasnima mentioned earlier. I just very quickly want to say that there are different terms, of course, and it's sometimes confusing. We could say classroom research or classroom-based research. As I said, though, these days maybe we're not researching the classroom, we're researching online teaching. So, and also classroom research is not necessarily done by teachers. It can be done by academics, looking at teachers. So, so teacher research may be classroom research, but the thing about teacher research is that it must be the teacher very much in control of the research. The teacher is deciding what should be researched, usually, not always, but usually the teacher is deciding what should be researched. The teacher is carrying out the research. The teacher is then sharing the research. It's the teacher's own research. Practitioner research, so teacher research is one kind of practitioner research, because doctors and nurses and social workers, they also may be researching their practice. So action research is one kind of practitioner research. We will talk about other kinds too, exploratory research and exploratory action research, which may be done by teachers, they may be done by other practitioners. So a little bit of distinction between teacher research and academic research. Teacher research is based on something important to the teacher's own work, relevant and useful to the teacher, only shared if the teacher wants to share it, perhaps, doesn't have to include a detailed report or even any report. But academic research may be conducted for qualifications or academic publication, usually supervised by or done by an academic. It may or may not be directly useful for the classroom, and it often requires time-consuming and complex analysis of data, research skills, and it requires detailed written reporting. Now, I think these two can overlap in very interesting ways. For example, if we have academics collaborating with teachers, as maybe the goal for your SIG, let's just have a basic distinction there. And types of teacher research: action research has been mentioned earlier. Exploratory research I would like to talk about a little bit later, and something I've been associated with is exploratory action research. So later I'll be sharing about that. But for now, let's just think about action research. And it involves planning an action, planning a change in your classroom or in your teaching, acting to implement the change, observing what happens, so this is the research part of it, getting data, classroom data, to see the effects of the change, and analysing and reflecting. and by analysing and reflecting, you may think, okay, I need to make a new plan. So we often think about cycles in action research. So planning a change, acting to implement the change, observing or evaluating the effects with data, reflecting and interpreting what has happened. Like this. So far, I wonder if there are any questions for us to consider. Rama, has anybody shared any so far? We want to stop sometimes just to see if you have any points to make. Rama, can you hear me?
I had not muted myself, unmuted myself. Yeah, I don't see any questions that we need to respond to.
Okay.
So
shall we?
we can go on, maybe.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
We're just going to respond to.
Namaste, ma'am.
We're not going to respond to questions usually.
Not oral questions,
not oral
but if
questions.
you can put it down, then it will help us. Is that possible? Can you put the questions down?
Hello, ma'am.
Can you write your question?
Can you listen me? Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
I want to know about the citation process in research.
Oh, okay. I think you need to put the question down in the chat box.
Yeah.
We'll definitely respond. We'll definitely
Sure.
respond.
Please do that.
Thank you very much.
And we will reply to questions which are related to what we are talking about. So let's move forward then, Rama, shall we? This is for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much, Richard. Okay. Now that Richard, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. So now, Richard has given a very good sort of introduction to what research is in general terms and also specifically teacher research. Teacher research also takes on many versions, many forms, but then we are not getting into that just yet. But then I just want to use this opportunity to, talk about this famous English in Action project, but then more important for me, more relevant for me and the teachers who are here in Bangladesh is the teacher research part of the project. So we started working on this around 2014 on English in Action project. It was called EIA. And then it sort of concluded with a conference called the Teachers' Voices Conference, which was held in 2016, I think. 2016. Yes. Yeah. So in fact, I'm very happy that some of the teachers who are part of that project are here today, and I hope we will be able to hear a few voices from them in this event. So now, what was this teacher research in Bangladesh about? Asking deeper questions of everyday classroom teaching and involving students, colleagues, and head teachers in this inquiry, because everybody is a stakeholder, important stakeholder. In my view or teacher's view, I think the student is the most important stakeholder who is there to learn. So if he or she doesn't learn as much as we want them to learn, then there is a problem. Then we'll need to find out why. And carrying out a small research study systematically. The focus is on systematicity, and we need to go about it, pretty rigorously. And then the whole thing depends on evidence. How do you know what works or what doesn't? This child learned or didn't learn or learned something else, or our materials were interesting enough or pedagogy was good enough. How do we know? So reflecting on that and then on progressive cycles and implementing modifications. So we go on sort of building up step by step what we find and what we come to, what understanding we come to. And then, of course, it's a never-ending process in a way, but then we are much better as we go along. Just want to show a very short video about one teacher going through her research journey during that project, Shamima. I think that will give you a flavor of what it was like.
Please tell me if you can't hear this, Rama, but I'm going to play it now.
Yeah.
This is from Shamima.
I can hear you. Good. I can hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
from my student life, I never think that I will become a teacher, because it was not my passion. I was thinking for something. Suddenly I invented myself that I am a teacher and I am working in a primary school. But I was working like other traditional teacher. But when I started with EIA, then I was a EIA teacher, extraordinary teacher. And now I am also working as a researcher, teacher researcher. And this has fulfilled the dream of my life also. As I am working in school continuously, I was facing some problems in my classroom, and English in Action is also helping me, and English in Action has also guided the way how can I solve this problem. But I think I need to evaluate my own teaching, that how am I doing, how my students are progressing. And I was thinking for a way, but I don't know what to do for that. And by this time we got the news of TVC. When I joined TVC, here I got introduced with some study. After joining this workshop, I get clear concept about what to do as a mentor in my Upazila. And I am working with other 3 teachers of my Upazila. They are working as mentees. Our study has 2 parts. First one is how can I improve my speaking skill as a teacher, and number 2 is how can I make my lessons fun and include everyone. So I am making my lessons plan. I am going to classroom, but not in the previous way. Now I am following some steps. Whenever I apply any technique in my classroom, at first I follow the step planning, then acting, and then observing, and last of all reflecting. Here I have used so many ways to gather evidence for this. I have made some video clips with the help of my peer teacher, and I have taken the photo of my classroom. I have used some classroom evaluation for my students and for my peer teacher and head teacher. I have used smiley for my students. Here they are expressing their views, their happiness or sadness with drawing a smiley on the board. At the end of this group work, I collected data from my students, and then it was very much clear for me that they have written so many things, and there was some emotional facts also. Some students written that, "Madam, I don't want to say anything because I think the boys will laugh what I will say." And that was my students' lack of confidence also. I know she is well, but she do not have the confidence to represent her. TVC had made me do this, thinking about my classroom deeply. As I go to classroom regularly, I implement any technique, I made my lesson plan, but that is not enough. TVC had made me that I need to think deeply what is going on in my classroom. That's why I invented many things in my classroom. I am the classroom changer, and I am really proud for that.
All right. So as a result of that, in fact, the presentations that the teachers made, the reports, short reports that they produced, which reflected their work, that was in fact published in this book called Teachers' Voices. What is this? Capturing the Dynamics of Change. So we are very happy about this publication, because at some point Richard and I think Professor Obaid also mentioned how it's difficult to publish, but then here we have some kind of a quite well written reports of what teachers did in their classroom, the questions they managed to answer, the questions they didn't manage to answer. There are some unanswered questions. That's why I said it's a kind of a ongoing journey. Yeah, so this book is available online. You can download it. So what did we do? We had a mentor workshop. In fact, we are going to talk a little bit about mentorship in our next segment. But then we had one of the teacher facilitators was a mentor. And then there were 3 participants to every group. Each mentor worked with 3 mentee teachers, and then over a year, teachers went through 3 iterated cycles of research with insight learning feeding into the next cycle. So I'm not going to be able to say this is exploratory action research. Probably it was, but then we didn't give it a label. But then this was clearly characterized by a very systematic approach to looking deeply at what was going on, why something isn't working. And when the teacher found out something, then they went and did something about it and collected more evidence. So this kind of a systematic process went on in an iterative fashion. So this is what is reported in the book. There were 3 regional workshops after the mentor workshop, and then online and face-to-face support given to teachers. This lasted a year. What were the significant outcomes? Students were active and willing participants because teachers were interested to know whether students liked their class, liked the activities, and whether they learned something and what. So this provided an extremely important dimension. Not that an ordinary or a non-researching teacher won't find out, but we put more emphasis on making the students a very important stakeholder or a participant. And teachers improved, of course the focus was on improving their listening, speaking, reading, writing skills because this was an English teacher. And then the teacher learned how to give feedback. And one thing that a teacher found most interesting was when the idea of a puzzle joke was introduced, it brought irregular students back to class. In fact, some of our teachers will tell you more about this. So the teacher what were the reactions of colleagues to start with? Because all teachers in a school were not involved. It was a triad kind of a thing, a head teacher and a colleague and a teacher. So there were other teachers, they were wondering, what's she doing? And then a primary teacher doing research, this kind of a thing. In fact, some teachers faced a bit of criticism as well. And then they called her over smart. But then this was all at the beginning. Slowly, the whole perception changed. What teachers say, I'm not going to read it aloud, just have a look at that. Teachers increasingly felt that they had got a special status. Just being a teacher, you are just a teacher kind of a thing to, being I'm a teacher and a researcher. And the teacher figured out that, you just need to ask the students if you feel that the class is not going very well, and don't ask the students to live in your world, but visit their world instead. And they also realize it's not a copy-paste kind of thing. Think deeply and figure out your question. What the teachers also recommended very strongly was, okay, we have really learned a lot, but then what about other teachers? What about other subjects? So let this become all Bangladesh phenomenon. I think that was a very, it came from their hearts, it came from their experience, and that was very heartwarming. And I hope people like, TESOL, organizations like TESOL.BD and also the government take this up in a full-fledged way for all the teachers. What did teachers learn? They have learned to problematize the normal class. Even if it's a normal class, there aren't problems apparently, but then you can ask a question and be critical about it. And have worked collaboratively with peer teachers and head teachers. That has been an enormous kind of learning because people came together. It was almost like school-based professional development. So it was not a single teacher trying to do research on her own or in his own, but then almost the whole school was involved and they all wanted to be part of it. And they have become more professional. I think I'll stop there, and I want to ask teachers now, Rakiba, maybe to start with. Rakiba, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just want to ask you this question. Can you think of one benefit that has been most significant for you from this teacher research?
Thank you very much for allowing me here. Yes, I can find, actually there was a lot more benefits while doing my TBC action research. But if I ask to say one thing that I can say that Now, after doing my research, I can now evaluate my own work with my own eyes. I can critically problematize my whole teaching learning process, and then I have learned now how to find out the possible solutions. I had to talk with my stakeholders, for example, my students, my parents of my students. I had to talk with my peer teacher, my head teacher, and my other colleagues. I had to collect some evidences regarding my questions and regarding my concerns. So it was a total process to whom I was not acquainted at all. This was just a sudden blessing upon me, because before working at TBC, I was just a mere teacher. I never thought of like this. Doing research is, as Professor Smith said, that it is beyond our level. I always thought that teaching research is not for us. But now I can say proudly that yes, I know just a bit of it, how the process goes on, how I should work on the process, and what I should focus on my teaching.
Okay.
So I must say that.
Would you be able to say that that has had any kind of a long-term impact on you since you're still a teacher?
Obviously, ma'am, obviously. I did my research in 2015 to 2017, but now here in 2021, we are facing the pandemic situation. Now I'm doing my classes on Bangladesh television and Bangladesh Betar, that is the radio of our country. So here I'm only giving my voice. I can't see my students. We can't be face to face. Here I'm also thinking that not only as a teacher, I'm just thinking myself as a learner who is gonna take part in the process, only listening my audios. So now first of all, I think myself as a learner, that how they should react with my voice, how they should take part, is it okay for them or not? So this is the skill I got from TBC, doing that some research. So thinking in different dimension.
This is amazing, because this is such a transferable skill that you are talking about, being critical, being able to self-evaluate, being able to look at the other dimensions or perspectives of what's going on. I think it's marvelous. It's really, thank you very much for being able to articulate this kind of a thing. I wonder if Rabi is here. I don't know if he's joined. Is Oh, okay, Rabi. Now, this is another teacher researcher. I thought not just women, but then a man should also speak. Usually we focus more on women these days. Rabi, so what's something that has stayed in your head from research days, teacher research days?
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me the chance to say something about my research. Actually, I did research in 2017 under the supervision of English in Action project, and from the research I came to know now I can think and realize the way of teaching and learning. This is very important thing to me. It shows me the way of learning, and it helps me to make some plan how to provide a fruitful class in my school.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent. So it has had some effect on you, which can be continuing even further, right?
Right.
That's excellent. I think Salma is also. Thank you very much, Rabi. Thank you very much. Salma is also here. Before we move on to the next thing, is Salma here? Salma, would you like to say something about what you learned, what kind of impact it had, the teacher research had on you?
Yeah, I think before the research, I was a general teacher. But when I enter in this researching process, after that, I'm not a general teacher. I think that time I'm an advanced teacher, and I know which technique I should apply in this classroom and which is not suitable right now, and which techniques I should change. And I think the most important impact for us, that is it increases our administration values and also the social values. And now I can present my papers for any challenges of my classrooms at any national and international conferences. So it's a great matter for primary teacher that now they're in another conferences with globally. So I think it's a lifelong impact for a teacher, because our research make the teachers from general to advanced and more expert, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharma. Thanks a lot. I just want to make one comment before I give it back to Richard, that these people are not chosen or special people, that today they've just come here. But when I sent some messages around, they responded and they have been here. I wish there were more people like them here today, but then Bangladesh has quite a good sort of expertise, a good group of people with a lot of expertise and experience. So doing teacher research or mentoring teacher research won't be very difficult at all. So we have people like this. Thank you all very much.
So yes, Rama, so it's great to hear the voices of teachers who've done teacher research, and I hope that you feel welcome here, and that you can, this can carry on through the SIG, because that can be your support going into the future. Because the projects we've been involved with, of course, they come to an end. So what happens after that? I think a SIG like this can really help to sustain this. As Rama says, there are many teachers now in Bangladesh who have done teacher research. I just want to address one question from Mutir Rahman. He says, for academic research, there is a push, or let's say obligation, to do research for academics. But it's not the case with teacher research. So why should teachers be involved in teacher research when they're already burdened with many tasks and a lot of work? I hope, Mutir, that as you've listened, you've heard the benefits from the teachers' own voices. And this is what, from my experience and Rama's experience, justifies promoting teacher research. It's not from some theoretical perspective, although of course I do think in theory teachers should have agency. As teachers, we need to narrow the gap between practice and theory, as Dr. Hamid said. But it's just our experience is that despite the difficulties, of course we recognize that teachers are very busy. We're trying to make research something which is practical and possible, and so that teachers see it is something that is useful for them to overcome problems, real issues that they are facing. And I think we find, both Rama and me, that by the end of it, although it's not easy, it's maybe difficult in some ways, they really feel more empowered, and that's a very strong finding. I think you've heard that from the voices of the teachers. They're feeling more empowered, they're feeling less demotivated, more in control, even with large classes, like some of you have mentioned the large classes. And I'll give you an example now, actually, of a teacher in a large class who had that big problem, but found that doing teacher research helped her. Also, I've just had the relationship with students often improves because you are working together with students to try to solve the problems. Yes, Rama.
Even during the whole exercise of doing research in Bangladesh, I don't think we came across any teacher who complained that she shouldn't have been part of this project. On the contrary, in fact, many more teachers wanted to be part of this, and they thought they were the chosen ones. They were not. But then you can only have these many numbers and not more. And therefore, we were really very keen for these teachers to continue that in their own schools with other teachers. But it's not very easy. You do need some kind of a influential organization or a project, or maybe teachers' college, teacher education college, or a research organization, which will sort of motivate these teachers and give them some kind of a the site to be able to do this kind of work. Yes. Of course, English in Action provided that, but then a lot more has to happen. Everybody has not tasted research. They said we had not tasted research before, but now that we have tasted it, we are not going to give it up. So you need to taste it.
So a kind of support structure, isn't it? Which maybe maybe TESOL.BD can also provide. I would also, I think it's a good question. Why should teachers do this? Well, to answer the question in a different way, why would they do such a thing? I think Rama has said as well, if they see examples of other teachers who are doing it and who are finding benefit, that's much more persuasive than an academic telling them they should be doing it. In other words, that they can see other examples of teachers who have benefited, just like we've heard today, that can inspire other teachers to do it. So that's why we like to share examples, and we're going to move on now and share some more examples. I'm going to share my screen again. Yes, Rama? Yeah.
Another teacher has signed up, and she was part of a biggish group. I just thought maybe we can give her 1 minute. Farmida?
Okay. Just 1 minute.
Yeah. Farmida, are you there? Or maybe later. I thought I saw her.
Maybe later, Rama, if there's time. Yeah. So we've been talking about action research, and a couple of questions about action research. I hope it wasn't confusing, but action research really is a kind of practitioner research. It's done by teachers, done by practitioners, not by academics, although academics can support this or do it in relation to their own teaching, for example. So we've been talking about that, and I want to move to my experience with Latin America, because the idea of the British Council was to encourage teachers, secondary school teachers, ordinary teachers, to do action research. But I was very worried that these teachers who have more than 40 students in their classes, they have a lot of classes every week, they're very, very busy. I was worried they would have an extra burden. So I kind of developed something which I started to call exploratory action research as a way to gradually introduce teachers to doing teacher research. So exploratory research is what I promoted at the beginning, different from action research. You plan to explore an issue, you don't plan to bring about a change yet, you don't plan some classroom experiment, you just have an issue in your mind that you want to explore. You want to find, for example, how can I teach a large class? That was one issue that came up in the chat. And then you have a question, your mentor, you need to try to think of what your questions are and what kind of data can you get to try to answer that question. And then you will analyze and reflect. So it's a kind of exploration of issues that are in your mind. So here are some of the teachers in Chile from that very first workshop in 2013. And they were sharing their problems, their classroom problems, sharing their issues, and turning them into questions. So here is one of the questions. How can we involve parents into the English learning process of their children? Very important question for teachers. Academics don't always help this. There's not much research about this, so the teachers really have to try to research this for themselves with their own parents, the parents of their own children. And of course this has become even more important as a question during the pandemic. As students are working at home, maybe it's useful to have parents supporting them. So I think then they developed, we talked about how could they answer their question, and they thought maybe having a meeting with parents, interviewing parents, discussing with parents what they do at home and how they support their children at home. That was the kind of research they developed. Another question that these teachers were concerned with, and it's interesting that many of the issues that actually teachers are interested in are very similar in different countries around the world. So what makes it difficult for our students to understand and speak English? That's a very big question, and probably we tried to help them to make it more specific and narrow down that general question. So they said action research will give the answer, but actually what we said was explore the issue, explore the situation before you think of some action. So exploratory research would be planning to explore, not planning an action, not planning a change, planning to explore and then gathering data and analyzing and reflecting. And it can then go into maybe action research, like this. And that would be exploratory action research. So here's another way of putting it. Planning to explore an issue, exploring and analyzing, and then deciding on that basis what action can you do to change the situation for the better. So just one example of comparing action research with exploratory action research. Another example. This teacher says, my students are not motivated. Again, that's a very common perception of teachers around the world. Now this teacher decides, okay, I've got a good idea. I'm going to use online videos, YouTube, to motivate my students. So this teacher does that, and it's research because this teacher is actually getting data to see what happens. They're asking students their perceptions, for example, by asking them not necessarily a questionnaire, because a questionnaire can take time to make. I often recommend to teachers, just think about, have students write 5 minutes at the end of the class what they think about the class, for example. Write reflectively on a piece of paper that you gather. And also ask a colleague to observe their class to see what the student's reaction was. And this student found that some students became more motivated, so they continued with the plan and knew things. So like a cycle, that's action research. How would exploratory action research be? Well, same starting point, but in this case, the teacher decides to explore the reasons why they are not motivated, or to explore the situation. So asks the students their perceptions and asks her colleague to observe the class, asking the students what motivates you, or what doesn't motivate you, what demotivates you. Now, this teacher found something surprising that they didn't predict, that the students said they would like more speaking in class. And that's what often happens when you do exploratory research. You're discovering new things. You're discovering things that are surprising for you. And that's what's quite valuable about exploratory research. Then you can see that this case, the student, it wasn't more YouTube videos that the students wanted. They said they want more speaking. So in this case, the teacher could make a plan for action, which was quite relevant to what the students said. Teach more conversation. Again, repeat the same research. Ask the students their perceptions and get somebody to observe. And in this case, students are more engaged, but they need more practice. So this is a basic distinction between action research, which is on the right, and having enough exploration beforehand, which is on the left. That's what we call exploratory action research. To find out more, as I said, I think often to introduce teacher research to teachers, it's a great idea to give examples. And there are lots of examples in this book, for example. Stories written by teachers about their research. There was one question about how can teachers share their research. What I've been finding is asking teachers to write it as a kind of story rather than as a academic report. It's more motivating. So you might, and I'll give you another link later where you can find all of these resources. Here is the link actually, and I'll repeat this link several times because all of the different resources that we mentioned, both Rama and I, are accessible through this particular link. And with Paula Rebiedo, who together I developed this approach in Chile, we made a handbook. And from my point of view, this is where I would recommend any teachers to go if you're interested in finding out more about how to do teacher research. I would recommend this book, but of course I wrote it, so I would say that. Now, we extended this into Nepal, India and Nepal, and I was working with Rama, I think, yeah, a little bit, well, a lot actually in India, but not on this program. We followed each other. So ARMS, it was called Action Research and Mentoring Scheme. We both worked on this program, and I worked on it in Nepal as well. So I'm going to give you an example of exploratory action research from Nepal, and this addresses a question that two of you asked about large classes. What can we do in large classes? So this is a teacher, Shova Shahi, who was mentored by Janak Negi in Nepal. She said, I have difficulties in managing a large class. This was the issue that she came to Janak with. And Janak asked her, well, what particular issues do you have? She said, I have an overcrowded classroom, 89 students, it's very difficult to manage. She tried many different things, but it never seems to improve the situation. She tried all of this in the past, but it didn't work. So Janak, the mentor, helped her to develop some exploratory research questions to start with. So what are the difficulties exactly? Often we teachers think there are problems, there are difficulties. We're not quite sure what the actual nature of the difficulty is. And that's why exploring is something that's very valuable. So what causes the disturbance in the classroom? She wasn't really sure. That's why Janak said to her, that could be a good research question. And how to get data? Well, a colleague observed these issues, these questions, and she took notes after each class based on what she observed herself. What did she find? Well, most of the students were actually paying attention. That surprised her. But the nature of the problem was that those who were sitting near the windows were creating disturbance. And they were talking to others about what they saw, and that created more disturbance. That created the disturbance, sorry. And then others were talking about those who were looking out of the windows. So that was what the problem was, and she had never really understood the problem until then. So she could make a good plan for action. She decided to give more responsibility to the students sitting by the windows and to the side talkers, and she would move closer to the students who were talking unnecessarily with their friends. That's what she did. Okay, so that's exactly what she did, and she asked her colleague to observe again, and she took notes herself after each class. And she noticed that the situation has changed drastically. Students don't talk unnecessarily. They concentrate more. They haven't stopped talking completely, but they've started talking about the subject matter. And she found that this was very, very empowering for her. So just to repeat, exploration followed by action is exploratory action research. And teachers often find, like this teacher from Chile, that they find surprising things that they didn't expect. And why explore before taking action? Just to repeat, you need evidence to help you understand. You need to understand before you go into plunging into action, which may or may not be a good action. You need a baseline to compare with what happens before and after. Also, it's not so burdensome, this gradual way into research. So, are there any questions or comments that we should address, Rama, from this part?
Yes, there are questions.
Yeah.
One is about publishing teacher research. Why isn't it so easy to get teacher research published? I just want to say that just like we have academic research and teacher research, we have academic journals, and so if a teacher wants to publish her report or her article in an academic journal, it may not be very suitable, it may be difficult and so on. But you could look for teacher journals, teacher-focused journals, where you could talk about what you did and other teachers could relate to it and learn from it, and also go and do some research based on that. So it's very useful that way. So I don't know if I've answered that question.
Okay, let's move on if you don't mind, Rama, because
okay. We don't have that much time, right?
Right, okay. Just 1 second, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought we would share
we have
something.
2 more questions, but then we could take it at the end.
Yeah, okay. I just thought we would share something a little bit from the India Arms project, because both Rama and I were involved with this. And this will just show you how teachers can share their research. This was a question earlier. Teachers don't need to write journal articles. They can share in this kind of way. Let's just have a few examples.
My research topic was, why can't my learners use the given points in a question to write a paragraph? I chose this topic because in our question paper we have 30 marks writing, and most of the students skip this part. They are very weak in writing, so I chose this part to know what are their problems.
And I did my research work on how to make my 10th graders confident orators. And the only challenge which I faced was that being the board class, I need to focus on completion of the syllabus, but it was really a fantastic journey throughout. I have used the different research methods like data collections through the checklist, through the verbal presentations, and through the questionnaires given to them. And finally, I hope this research have made them the ignited ones so that they can proceed further.
Okay, I think we'll leave that there. Thank you. Just because of the time, so we'll go back to the site. So that's the British Council Arms project in India and Nepal, which actually was focusing on developing mentoring and mentors who would then look after these groups of teachers. Can you see the slides at the moment, Rama?
No.
Oh, sorry. Let me just do that. Should be okay now. Yeah. Okay. So that was this program, just to show that teachers can share through posters, and then yeah. Let's move on. So what is mentoring? We're going to talk a little bit about mentoring. And maybe some of the teachers who have done teacher research might think about helping other teachers to do teacher research, or if you are working in a university, or if you are a leader of this association, thinking about how to support teachers to do teacher research. Well, here's one definition of mentoring, here's another one. It's not necessarily telling students or teachers what to do, it's sort of guiding, really. And how to mentor teachers to do research, especially teacher research, has not really been very much written about. But I think from this experience of the ARMS project, we've developed more knowledge about how to support teachers to do teacher research, because we've been helping mentors, Rama and I. So there are many good reasons for this, and so we had an idea for a handbook. So I just want to share with you that this handbook has come out, and it's a good place to read about how to support teachers. This idea of Jemima Hughes, actually, at the British Council in India, to write this handbook. So that's what I did, and you can access this handbook through the same website. And I think that maybe you could have little videos of mentors also that you can access through the book, giving their insights from India. So here's what is in the book, and here are some of the things which are rather difficult for teachers, which on the right especially, which that book will help mentors to support teachers with, helping teachers to select a topic, to narrow down from all the different problems they have. And guiding teachers to develop research questions is important, and it's quite hard, so that we've got some help in the book. Preparing teachers to collect data, and we haven't said this very clearly, but I think you've seen from the examples that we recommend methods or kinds of data which are not complicated, which are very easy to integrate with everyday teaching. Remember from the video that Rama showed, the teacher was making cards with smiley faces for primary school children to tell the teacher what they felt about particular activities. For example, things which can be built into everyday teaching. You can find out more in the handbook for exploratory action research, or in this book. And guiding teachers to analyze and interpret data is something that they sometimes find difficult. And then planning and evaluating change, moving into action research. And then finally, helping teachers to share and reflect on their research. So these are the contents of that book. I think we better move on straight away to Rama, and you're going to tell us about this program in Sierra Leone, just to end up with, because it involved mentoring, it involved a mentoring thing, and it involved exploratory action research, I think.
Okay.
I think we only have about 5 minutes, really, Rama, if you go quickly. Yeah.
We did this project in Sierra Leone, which was again part of a training program. So teacher research was sort of a sub-project. So we had 220 teachers, this time both maths and English, not just English, because this project was all about training teachers of math and English. And there were 28 mentors, but in this case, it was slightly different from what we did in Bangladesh. These mentors were not teachers. They were trainers as part of the main project. And they had not done research before. And they were not teachers either, but then we trained them through this mentoring program, workshops and so on, how to become a mentor of teacher research. It was a little challenging, but then by and by they got to know that, and they appreciated it, and they got better at it and so on. And there were also 16 from the government, people monitoring and supporting these mentors. And there were 4 national teaching and learning specialists, one for each region, and there was 1 international specialist, which was me. So together we sort of put together a program which lasted 1.5 years, maybe even 2 because of COVID. It sort of got disrupted in the middle. Can you go on to the next slide? Okay. Maybe 2-minute video I could show where
I think we don't have time really.
Skip it. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe if we have time, we'll show you the video later.
Yeah.
These were 2 teachers who were really very impressed with this workshop because they learned about researching rather than just pedagogy. Usually teachers get training in pedagogy. These are some of the, you can see what Sierra Leone looked like, what their classrooms looked like. Go on to the next one. Yeah, this is also that. And we had a conference. We couldn't have 1 conference, but 4 conferences because of COVID, travel restrictions, and so on. This, of course, we won't go into the detail now. There's a book that's published again, where 50 people have been published, 50 out of about 140, because they were able to produce a report that was publishable. In fact, we ran workshops for teachers to write the research report and to present PPTs, to present posters. So there were workshops for every activity. In fact, the mentors did an amazing bit of work by, traveling to different places on motorbikes and supporting teachers and everything. Have a look at what the teachers learned. I'm not going to read this. Learning can take place when both teacher and learner are ready and willing in a friendly atmosphere. Now, these are all teachers' own sort of revelations or realizations, and that's what makes it very special. If a trainer tells them, go and use learner-centered approaches, that somehow becomes a kind of an instruction. But when they realize that they have to make it truly learner-centered, that is, involve the learner, that's come from research, I think that's a very big finding or very big outcome of a research study. And they learn to self-reflect. This is how they wrote journals in their books. These are some, they found pictorial evidence here. 2 students are, having a feedback session. This is what they collected. Interview with pupils and so on. You can see that this is what they collected, and it's all in the book. You can see that. What did they say? It's what is here. Classroom problems cannot be solved all at once. You need to wait patiently. You need to go about it in stages. Teachers' attitude has changed a lot about methods of teaching. More teacher research to be conducted. Now, this is a recommendation which we saw both in Bangladesh and Sierra Leone. After teachers have done their research, they say, how can we not be doing research in classrooms? And of course, primary and secondary. Now, I won't go into this at all. I don't know if Musa is here in the audience. Is Musa here? I can't hear him now. Musa was a mentor. I thought he was here personally to say something about his experience of mentoring. But it was unique because there were, okay, there's a figure that I want to show you. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, this figure, if you see, this is a classroom with a teacher and pupils, and there's a principal, parents, and colleagues, all made up of, you know, this is a school. This is what the school is made up of. And then there is a national expert, then the government deputy director monitoring, and the teacher research mentor, and the international expert. All of us sort of came together to understand the classroom better. And it was not a kind of a top-down mentor model. Because usually when you mention the word mentor, people think that he is a great person. Of course, Richard is, but then, you know, but we don't want people to think that only Richard has answers to give. In fact, the teacher finds her own answers from classrooms. But then the teacher will need some direction, and that's what the mentor does. But in the process, the mentor himself or herself learns a lot. So it was you can see the arrows pointing in all directions. Everybody learned from this whole experience, and we were better off because of that. Go on to the next one. I'm doing it very, very briefly because there's no time. One saying from what the teacher said, I think is a good thing. I realize that pupils struggle with mathematics due to the methodology used. I become more pupil-centered. Because it was difficult for the teacher to accept that his or her method was lousy. But when the student had the courage to point it out, then they said, okay, what do you find problematic? And then they started exploring. And then they started finding ways to, you know, counter that. And therefore, the whole thing begins with a learner telling you that your class is not a very good class. But you have to give them the space and the freedom to express that and to be articulate. Okay, that's it. These are all some figures. There was a conference where there were poster presentations and PPTs and, you know, 4 regional conferences. All that happened. And then the publication. That's it.
Great. And we just wanted to end by saying that actually, you know, Siddhartha Dungana on Facebook has asked, how can we sustain the research attitude in teachers? Well, we do feel it is important to have some sort of support network, some sort of support structure, I should say. It could be through a project like we've been describing, but let's imagine other possibilities which may not exist now, but we can create. And I think it's starting to happen within teacher associations. I forgot to mention INET in India. They have they are supporting teacher research. And the good thing about teacher associations like TESOL.BD Research SIG as well is that you continue, hopefully, you will have a long life from now. You should have a 100-year plan, just like Bangladesh does, which is amazing. And seriously, it could be a long-term project, and you could be supporting teacher research into the future. This is what we are hoping, and we're hoping to support you and help you in this way. But of course, local organizations, that was an Indian thing, Mandal, I think. I'm not sure if it's true in Bangladesh, but through universities, I agree with those of you who have said there should be a closer link between universities and teachers, and supporting teachers' exploratory action research, teachers' action research is very beneficial for the university as well. But it has to be a equal relationship, I would suggest, that you are supporting teachers to have agency, and that could be very beneficial to make TESOL research, which I agree is really developing very, very well now in Bangladesh, to make it appropriate to teachers' needs. So that's, I think, everything we want to say today, just to say that that's happening now with another teacher association in Telangana, in India. So we've come to the end of our presentation, our workshop. And if you have, maybe we could answer a few questions. I'm afraid you heard my son just now. We have to leave soon. I have to take him somewhere. But I've got 5 minutes. I think, Rama, you could stay perhaps a little bit longer
Thank you very much, Richard Smith and Rama Matthew. But we have got 2 questions on Facebook Live. Should I say here? Okay, the first question is from Vicky Ann. Does it mean that action research is done directly by an academic researcher?
So, Tasneem, I think I've addressed that question. We tried to address some questions as we go along. And no, action research is very much for practitioners. And let us maybe choose. Yes, please. Any more questions you'd like to ask, Tasneem?
Yes, another question, but you have addressed maybe, similar one. From Siddhartha Dhungana. How can we sustain the research attitude in teachers? What could be demotivating sources? Is there any progressive line of encouraging context and promoting research issues?
So I tried to address that by saying that we need to support teachers. We need mentoring structures. We need support systems. Because teachers won't maybe just carry on their own. We need to have networks which will help to support them, I think. The final question from Jamil is very interesting. How did you address the ethical issues? Of course, that's very, very important. I think just a minute. Yeah, sorry, I need to go. From my point of view, it is very important that, as you say, to ask parents' permission, to ask head teachers' permission, ask children's permission, if you are going to share your findings outside your school, outside your school, I think. So it is important, and we address that. Rama, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, in fact, I remember someone asking us when I was doing some very specific research in relation to young learners learning. Yeah, we want to be very, very conscious of what ethical issues are involved when we involve children, when we involve parents and other teachers and so on. But when you think of how this is going to benefit learners and benefit teachers and parents and everybody there, we need to do more and more research. So we need to somehow find a way to address these ethical issues. Of course, we can take permissions, written permissions from parents. Parents in India and Bangladesh or elsewhere, I saw, they sign anything you want them to sign because they don't know what they are signing very often. That's not the kind of ethical consent we are looking for. But then do the parents understand what kind of research this is, whether it's going to benefit them or is it going to jeopardize their children's lives or classroom life or whatever. So I think along with raising ethical concerns is also, is education about the people involved in it. So it goes hand in hand, actually.
And I think, Rama, you've touched on something which I think I completely agree with, that teachers researching their own practice is part of teaching. It's a way of teachers developing their teaching for the benefit of their students. So as far as it's within the classroom, it's a very ethical approach to take to try to improve the situation for your children. And but of course we need to think about anything that might be damaging, or we need to get permissions if we are going to be publicizing what we've done outside. This is quite important and interesting issue. Mahmoudul Haq says, especially for primary teachers, the opportunity to be trained to conduct research there's not really much support for that. It's true. I've worked with secondary teachers mainly, so maybe that's an area for TESOL.BD Research SIG to think about. I know, Rama, you've worked with primary teachers.
Yeah, I think as far as there is some funding or there is a funded project, primary teachers do get involved, included, and even secondary school teachers, for that matter, school teachers, because the university or academic research is all about getting degrees or working on a funded project. Therefore, I would really urge TESOL.BD to sort of work on this quite systematically, consistently, to get some funding maybe, or to set up a kind of a scheme where teachers can take part. You don't need a lot of money to get teachers to do research. I want to say that. And that little money will come from anywhere and everywhere. It's not a problem. You just need well-meaning mentors and then teachers who are really interested, not because it's a good thing to do research, but intrinsically they'll have to be interested in it and motivated in it. But as people have repeatedly confirmed, once you know what teacher research means and what it does to you, people want to do research. So I really like it if TESOL can set up that kind of a climate for teacher research to happen. And I'm sure Bangladesh teachers will all want to do research.
And one answer to a question which has come up about publishing, we've been emphasizing that there are different ways of sharing, but when teachers do want to publish, maybe also TESOL.BD could think about, say, a way of a website where reports of teachers' research could be published, and teachers don't necessarily need a Scopus index journal, etc. But you can find ways, like we found ways of making books, for example, online with the TEFL Research SIG. And a question from Ume Han. For example, you will see how deciding on what kind of data, deciding on what kind of research method, it depends on your research question. It's the same with academic research. You have to think, what's your question and what's the best way to get data? Sometimes it's a questionnaire, sometimes, but if it's opinions, for example, or feelings, then maybe a questionnaire. But there are other ways, and we recommend other ways as well, which depends on your research question, really. And ways which do not interfere too much with your everyday teaching is what we are recommending. I think we've got to end there, I'm afraid. And really thank you very much for inviting us again. And good wishes, best wishes for the SIG, and we will keep in touch.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Richard Smith and Dr. Rama Matthew. This was so fantastic and lots of encouraging interests and questions from our audiences. So we very much look forward to it, and we hope you will be with us. Just a minute, I'm seeing President TESOL Society of Bangladesh. He has just joined us. So I would like to request Professor Dr. Saidur Rahman sir to share just few words with us. Thank you.
Hi, Richard and Rama Matthew and all of you. I'm extremely sorry, Richard. You know that today is IATFL Associate Day, and at the same time, I'm representing the TESOL Bangladesh Society. We're still having this workshop, but as our convener requested me to just join you and say a few words. I'm so glad to see the resource person with whom we have been working quite a long time. I was checking with Richard Smith. Since 2017, I have been part of classroom-based research, which research got me involved, and I had great opportunity to participate actively at least in 2 of such projects. Very recently, I've been in touch with Rama Matthew. I've been writing a paper, and Rama Matthew, she has been working quite a long time with English in Action, and when about the closing of this English in Action project, she did a wonderful book that is about sustainability of thought. And I've been going through it because the book was not available. It's quite expensive. Somehow I got a copy and beautifully captured the challenges that Richard Smith talked about it, Rama Matthew talked about it. And with Dr. Ubayad Hamid, we've been working quite a long time. He has been highlighting the research in low research, which is also our main goal of this platform. I'd like to highlight more about the future because we talk that challenges that Richard mentioned. We can see Bangladesh population is all about peace and motion and all. We talk about publication, it has to be super text. And when you talk about mentoring is somebody the wisest person. So if we start guiding and mentoring, it seems like we're so. Whereas after working with almost for a year, we have seen that the primary and secondary teacher, the best person to know about their context. We rather at detection level live in an ideal context. So we thought something very interesting thing, agency development. I think that is one very important part. If TESOL Society of Bangladesh plans to work very closely with primary and the secondary, we'll be looking at this particular aspect, this agency development of our primary and secondary teachers. And also happy that the very definition of publication that Richard shows with a YouTube video, Rama Matthew showed capturing such a beautiful pictures, infographics. It is not always we need to publish in a Scopus Index and international journals. We have our own platform. We have been working closely with IATF Research SIG. So anywhere you publish, it's a publication. We need to share our knowledge. So that is another way of looking at it. A way forward, something that I would like to tell our participants today, a very impressive number of primary teachers joined today and the secondary teacher. I can see that we'll be collaborating with IATF Research SIG. Rama Matthew and Richard Smith is here. And part of the classroom-based research he has been doing in Nepal and Bangladesh. In Nepal, we can do similar one like India and Nepal. We also would love to extend our support and mentoring of classroom research or the action research. So when I'm going through the chat box, many teachers ask whether they will get some help. You'll get all the help from our association. One of the goals of this association is to reach out the primary teachers and the periphery, which we are a little bit different from other associations, and we're trying to be unique so that we can reach the teachers at the periphery, teachers at the rural communities. That is, we don't want to make it an urbanized association. We really want to reach out the people. Rather than calling them to urban, we are trying to reach out, and our focus will be that. So this is the Research SIG special interest group where we'll be addressing that. We also have English for school teachers. There's another platform. So this both can work together. And I'm sure Richard Smith and Rama Matthew will be available to guide us in future. That is one of the reasons we are here. And I must thank my impressive team, the Research SIG, TESOL Society of Bangladesh. They have been working quite a long time, especially Tasnima Akhtar, and doing a lot of multitasking, sitting in London, connecting with me. And we are, I can see how many emails she has been exchanging with Richard Smith, because I'm in the CC, how many emails I could finish it reading off. And I must thank all our volunteers, young master student, Nusrat Oishi, and then we have Rima, we have Hasna Khanum, we have Pradhan, we have Imdad. I can see a lot of a huge team. Dipti, the publicity secretary, we've been working quite a long time for this 3-hour session altogether. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and well-organized event. I must thank Hamidul Haq, the vice president. And I must tell Rama that Hamid and I, we are a graduate from University of Delhi, was very close to your institute. I passed out from Ramjas, and we were in both. We know you quite a long time. I guess you shifted from EFLU to Delhi University. By the time I went to Jawaharlal Nehru University to my PhD. So very interesting way of we share common understanding and feelings, which is such a wonderful. So Hamid is our vice president, and he is the convener of special interest groups. So thank you, Hamid, for such a wonderful organization capacity and the way you are organizing all the SIG. And I must thank our honorable UGC member, Professor Jad, who is in charge of research actually. And he is, ever since the first conference, he has been so generous, he's always with us. Obaid Hamid, special guest. We learned so much from Obaid Hamid's writing. Anyone who is working with language and development or planning, we must refer to Obaid Hamid's work. such an impressive list of publication. So we have such a wonderful platform today with all these dignitaries and experts. Thank you so much for attending. I must apologize again, not to end the entire session because I was actually same time arranging the IATFL Associate Day. Thank you so much, Rama and Richard Smith, for organizing this beautiful talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us at the 11th hour. Thank you so much. And I believe our note of thanks is done by our sir. Thank you for that as well. And finally, as a convener of this research SIG, I just would like to conclude our today's ceremony. I believe you'll be with us. You'll join us, join our SIG, and let's talk research more and more. Stay safe, stay sound. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just would like to say that if there are questions that people have or haven't had them answered, Tasneema could send them over to us, to Richard and me, and we'll definitely answer them. It's not a problem at all.
Yes, yes, we will.
And Rama, I also understand the time was so less for such a huge topic. Maybe we can extend some workshop in future.
Yeah, you need to do a full-fledged workshop.
Yes,
you need, and then also in parts, because everything can't be done in 90 minutes or 45 minutes. So.
Definitely.
We're looking forward to more works next time. And we're inviting you. Please just.
In fact, you have a fund of experienced people in your primary teachers and secondary teachers. None of the secondary teachers came today for some reason. I don't have their email IDs or phone numbers, unfortunately. But then you have them all. The book gives you all the details. So in fact, they could be the sort of inspiring force behind this whole thing, because they've actually done it in rural schools, in very difficult circumstances, in large classes, in very remote areas. So, it's all there.
Yeah, we invited the English in Action teacher facilitator in one of our talk, and they are all TFs of English in Action.
Yeah.
I guess in future we'll be getting more people to share their experience, and also the Dr. Sajidur Rahman with OpenUC UK will be because he will also already said that he will come and share his experience.
So we can stop here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Stay sound, stay safe.